been in the schools for 4 years now, and no matter how much teachers or administrators or me, how much we want, or their families want them to make better choices, it starts with them. They gotta wanna make the choice.
Young people get involved in a life of violence for many reasons.
I was born and raised in a family of a gang culture, beginning again with my oldest brother, who was a part of the original Crips in Los Angeles after the '65 riots. And so being groomed in that environment and being a part of it, and then I myself, of course, joining the gangs and then becoming victim of my own, again, crimes and lifestyle.
I grew up learning how to live in the streets and protect myself and using violence, but I didn't want to, but growing up where it's violence everywhere, I had to. But it also taught me that I don't like it, I don't want it around me, so I try to use the best solutions to avoid the situation and be the bigger person and walk away.
I've grown up in the kind of lower income neighborhood and seen a lot of gang stuff myself personally, and I've seen it kind of get worse, and I've seen a couple of people come from California and try to spread their gang here. I kind of almost got interested in doing it just because I was so bored, and I didn't have money and stuff, and I did like to dress that way, and I just kind of wanted to fit in with the rest of them, and you know what I mean, to hang out with the cool kids or whatever.
Street gang involvement may occur due to many factors. Hearing stories and experiences from those affected by gangs and related violence can help us understand the true impact.
There is a different attraction that is coming from the gang culture, coming from that street, when it deals either with the fast money or it's dealing with the fancy clothing, the cars, girls, if you will. That whole scenery still has a drawing power to them, which I think that is important that we look at on both sides to say that there's a void that maybe happened where there's a kid that's not getting love, there's a kid that's not getting attention, there's a kid that doesn't feel like he belongs. He lives here, but it's like, do anybody even know I'm here? It's almost like he's a ghost in his own house. And what the gangs end up doing is says, I see you, we recognize you, we're gonna support you, we're gonna empower you. And this is a front as far as what attracts them to get into it though. And that becomes something that actually can draw anybody, because I think we all wanna belong to something.
The need to belong is a powerful force and has been known to drive young people towards gangs. Those sharing with us have either been involved with gangs or violence themselves, or have family members who have. Some have dedicated careers to working with gang-affected youth, and sadly, some have even lost loved ones to gang violence. Through their personal experiences, this group of individuals share insight about life-changing setbacks that close the doors of opportunity for those who get involved with gangs or criminal lifestyles.
Walking into that lifestyle, that culture, there's a perception that this is for me, this is positive, because there's the message, again, of support. It's almost like that security, that big brother. We're here for you. We got your back, okay? You don't have to fear nobody in your school. You know why? Because you belong with us now. And for a young kid, that's power.
The connection with gangs originally looks exciting, but what happens is there's a whole nother side of gangs that they don't see up front. And they don't see that they're going to end up being incarcerated, or that they're likely to get hurt or harm someone else. They don't see that they're likely to get involved in drug and alcohol addiction and end up in a treatment center. So the important thing to remember is most kids get involved in gangs, and they're not involved for really more than, the research shares, approximately 2 to 3 years. And so soon they find they start to see the real side of gangs and the harm that it causes, and they get tired of being incarcerated, tired of being involved in drugs and alcohol, get tired of having to watch their back every time they turn around. And so eventually about 85% of the kids do leave gangs within 2 to 3 years.
Not earning a diploma may severely limit one's future. It can restrict choices of career, social life, involvement in positive groups, and maybe even the chance to pursue a life dream.
It really does affect them. I'll sit down and look at even just their grades, you know, and I'll ask them, well, how long have you been associated? How long have you guys been, have you been hanging out with this group? And then I'll look back at their grades and I'll see a correlation. Their grades will be dropping, significantly dropping, okay? You talk to their teachers, their parents, their friends, they'll say, yeah, we've noticed a huge change in their behaviors, their attitudes towards school, towards their family members. We believe that education is what's going to get them out of the situations.
My daughter's 2. My mom never actually taught me or spoke to me about certain things. So I want to start off by letting her know and getting her aware of what's out there and tell her to keep her best focuses in school. And, you know, education is the key out there, not street education, because you ain't gonna go nowhere with that, so.
Gangs and crime go hand in hand. As a gang member, engaging in criminal activity is required. This, however, can lead to serious consequences: suspension or expulsion from school, incarceration, a juvenile record, and time spent in court and on probation are just a few of these consequences.
It's not like juvenile, not like that when you go to real jail. When you turn 18, it's no joke. They're not taking it easy on you and they're not telling you what you want to hear.
They don't see that side of it. They don't see, you know what I mean, that when you go to jail, your gang members is not gonna come see about you. They're not gonna take care of you. They're not gonna write you letters. You're on your own. They don't see all that.
Really, it's gonna hurt me in the long run, and I'm gonna be back behind bars, hating life again, and I'll be around my family.
Yes, the money's out there. Yes, the cars, the flashy clothes, the girls. But the thing is, what are you gonna do again when all that come crumbling down?
As part of this criminal culture, adult gang members take advantage of younger members. To avoid going to jail themselves, adult members often force younger members to commit their crimes and use them for their own selfish means. Youth within the gangs don't always realize that they are the ones being exploited and used.
When you've been out doing some things that are really inappropriate or hurt or harm somebody, it's easy to self-medicate with the drugs so that you don't have to face the reality of what's been going on. And it is a social norm within the gang network. What happens within a gang is then you're involved in activities that traumatize you or re-traumatize you over and over and over. If you're involved in some sort of a drug deal that goes bad, guns are pulled, that's pretty traumatizing. And so that perpetuates depression and mental health issues that kids may already have, or maybe sets off some of those mental health issues.
When you really embrace this culture, this lifestyle, where it actually becomes you. I'm not talking about wannabes. I'm not talking about those, again, who are just, attracted to the outside world of that culture. But when you've really bought into it, and this gang really becomes who you are, it defines you now, you're trapped into a world where, in so many ways, the way out becomes either prison or death. Going into it, you're not told that. Going into it, you know what I mean, everything is positive. But when you get into it thinking that, yes, this is gonna be, everything that I've been looking for in life, and all of a sudden the freedoms and the liberties that you thought that you were gonna have starts to now confine you. Something that I always even share with some young kids, out there, selling drugs, making a lot of money. But the real issue is you can't go everywhere you want to and spend that money. You can't go in every neighborhood and wear any kind of color. You can't stop at any gas station. You can't walk in any liquor store. You're confined to a specific area. Yes, you got money, but the thing is you got to utilize your whole life now in this trap.
Gangs appear to have a lot of freedom, but what happens over time is, you are being controlled by those that run the gang. You're being told what to do, how to do it, when to do it. If you don't do it, there's a threat. You have to watch your back. You do lose your freedom because you have rival gangs that may, have an issue with you or your gang, so you're at risk. You lose your freedom because you could become incarcerated. You're on probation, so you have to check in. You're on electronic monitor, so you're restricted in where you can go. And pretty soon, you are being controlled, and so what seemed to be a lot of freedom really then becomes mostly restrictive.
My brother was killed 3 years ago in Detroit, Michigan. So he was shot 9 times, and he was only 17 years old. He was shot in his car, and so it definitely affected us 3 years ago, because it made us realize, like, you know, we can lose our loved ones over this. Anything can happen, you know, drag us into that, and it's not good. It's not a good thing, living a life full of drugs and violence around everywhere. It's not fun, because you lose somebody you love, and that hurts. So you got to deal with that for the rest of your life.
Of course, through it all, you know what I mean, I've been, you know, in prison, been in jail. I've been shot twice. Both times I supposed to have been dead. So by God's grace, you know what I mean, the Lord kept me. I have 3 brothers of those same brothers I'm talking about that are now dead from gang violence.
There is a lot of violence there, a lot of shooting, a lot of people getting killed, a lot of robbing, you know, and a lot of innocent lives getting taken for no reason.
Think about it.
You know, several gang members that are incarcerated because they did shoot and kill somebody, and their life is fairly over. They're not going to be out of incarceration for, you know, until they're, you know, 50, 60 years old. One mistake when they were 17 and 18 years old has affected them for the rest of their lives. And so no, they're not going to have a family, and no, they're not going to have that job that they wanted, and they're not going to have the relationships in their lives that they were hoping for.
Living that lifestyle, not from what I read, not from what I studied, not from watching the media. I was born in it. It was almost like, you know, I had no choice. I was conceived into that type of culture, raised in it, it became me. And that's all I knew was the gang lifestyle. And so that helps me to be able to speak about this subject in a manner to where it's not, again, from education. It's from my heart. It's passionate with me. And I say that too because 3 of my brothers was killed from the same lifestyle. And the youngest that I was leading into was one that I was actually trying to now get out of that lifestyle after I came out of it. And I felt the blame, of course, because just like I did, he's following now my footsteps, and I felt responsible for him. And I did everything that I can to try to get him out of that lifestyle. And the last words that he told me was, he said, "Sean, you've been shot twice and you got out." He had already been shot twice, and he said, "Now let me get out when I get out." And I told him, I said, "I got out by grace. I didn't get out by choice." And right after that, he got shot with an AK-47 in the back and was killed.